Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And we're live. Chris and I are both just staring at each other. You going to talk? I'm going to talk. You're going to talk. Well, we've got an awesome guest coming up. You know, we've had a really interesting show. I still have tons of questions. Still selfishly motivated. I've got all. I need the information here.
Yes. I think the word is, and Kim would like to have a new home, so it may be time.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, don't go down that road yet, Rob.
Kim, are you listening?
She is. That's why
we're working on for you.
You get me in trouble every time. She's listening right now, I guarantee you. Well, we have an interesting guy up right now, and I've actually worked with Jim now a number of years with Improve My Credit USA. We've had a partnership together, and he builds a fantastic product, and it's something that's really cool, and I was really glad to be able to get him on the show this week. So, Jim, say hello to everybody and let us know who you are, where you come from.
Right. Well, I'm president of Solaris Homes, and we build an ultra-efficient house as far as that goes, and using more modern techniques. Our website is solarishomes.com, and it tells quite a bit about us there.
And let me tell you, the website is absolutely phenomenal. I've got it up, looking at it obviously right here. Got a lot of good information out there that you actually do. And we were talking about this during one of the breaks. We were going into things, sort of the transition, and we talk about building a energy-efficient home and then building a ultra-efficiency home.
Right.
So, let us know a little bit about that. I mean, what is some of the things that Solaris does that differentiates yourself from everybody else?
Well, when you step back, you look at the envelope. That's where you start from. How tight is that? The fenestration we were talking about, how much air passes through. A normal house, like I'm sure most of the what we call energy efficient homes right now, they probably have about a 1,200 cubic feet per minute amount of movement through the house. And a house such as ours, which is an open cell foam we were talking about earlier, is about 480. So you're reducing that significantly. And in order to keep the heat out in the summer and keep some warmth in the winter, you've got to do that. We found that one of the byproducts is a lot of people mention that there's no dust in the house, which is
interesting.
A nice little feature as far as that goes. But also, when you're looking at the envelope, the attic is part of the whole space, and it's climatized. It runs about 2 degrees more temperature-wise than the downstairs.
That is almost like urban legend here in Houston. I mean, it's I've been in a lot of attics in my life in Texas, and even wrapping my mind around an attic that's 2 degrees warmer.
I'm not sure why you're up in those people's attics.
Yes,
we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Well, it makes it a great storage area, but also you don't have to worry so much about the ducts, because that is the weakest link in any HVAC system.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. We employ a 16-SEER system that is variable speed, programmable thermostats, and then you start looking at other things like we mentioned earlier, windows. Dual pane, argon-filled, low E windows that are vinyl, which they'll give you your best bang for the buck, really, over time, and they look good. And then also, since we in this country are blessed to have a lot of natural gas, the fact that years ago, the president, I guess excluded, there was a promise here that once we built those nuclear reactors down in Bay City, energy was going to be free. Well, it didn't work out quite that way. But the idea is that gas stoves, tankless hot water heaters, now they have a condensing hot water heater, which uses 95% of the energy out of that natural gas when it's burnt, for example. So what you have is there's a 5-star energy rating system out there that the Department of Energy does. We've gotten some grants from them on some of the things we're doing. And the average energy-efficient new home today is about an 85. And most of our houses run about 12 or 13. Of course, the lower the number, the better. There's a great resource here in the city where the permits are done on Washington Street. They moved into one building for commercial and residential permitting, but they have a wing, and what they deal with is basically all the energy devices and things out on the market that you can employ to save water, save electricity, a little bit nicer house. And of course, aptly named it's called the Resource Center, and it's a great resource. If you're thinking about doing something to your house, if you're thinking about building a new home, it's a great place to go and visit. Now, LEEDs, which you hear a lot about, certification, they have their Gulf area regional is right here. They sort of office out of that Resource Center. So there's a lot of things going on. Some cities in Houston are a little more active than others, like you mentioned Austin. San Antonio is huge. We're a real proponent of renewable energy. All our houses have solar panels, for example. Because you back up, there's a couple of things about that we always like to talk about is that I don't care whose house it is, 7 times more energy falls on that roof every day than you need to run the house. And what are we doing about it? And this is where solar has really gotten to be. It's a distribution locally. We have one street, we have 20 homes that are all solar homes. They have about 5 kilowatts that they generate. In the wintertime, none of them have any electric bills. As a matter of fact, a high electric bill on that street, I just got the numbers in, and it was $1.85.
Oh, God.
For last month.
That was the high bill.
Yeah. The highest bill they've ever had in the last 3 years is $68. And somebody had a bill where it was 30 days, 100 degrees. So they had $68. That's been their high so far.
That is amazing.
One question I want to ask you really fast. One of the things we talk about, and I wanted to clear this up before we get a caller on right now, is that we have different energy efficiency programs. The 5-star energy efficiency program. You've got the LED. What are some of the credible energy efficient programs that an individual, if they're out there, need to really look at and say, this builder is complying to this? And the reason why I ask that is because it seems like every day something new pops up.
Yeah,
right?
that's a great question. First thing you got to look for is what they call greenwash. That's where they put on there, hey, this is green, and it's a real stretch to see where it's green. Now, there is LEEDs, which is basically more than just energy. It has to deal with sustainability. Like a LEED certification deals with categories, like how did you plan this? How is it orientated to where it is? You have another category, what do you do with the waste, and how much are we putting in our landfills? Because the home building industry for years sent a lot of stuff to the landfill, and they're reducing those things, like that aspect of it. Another part of it is how much is recyclable, say glass-type countertops, composite countertops, granite countertops get high ratings because you put one on and you never change it again, so that's pretty low in energy consumption over time. Things like renewability, sustainability, wood that comes from a forest that is being regenerated. You have bamboo floors. Now there's bamboo-made cabinetry because it's constant. You can keep raising that. Bamboo's like basically a weed.
Correct.
So it's a case where and some people use it that way. But having some of my education come from California, we understand that. But the idea is that
that's another whole topic too. Whoa, yes, yes.
The concept, all these is a component. The thing to look at is just like what earlier guests were saying, is you have to look at it as a system. First, you save as much energy as you can. Then, if you make some energy on site, you have a real nice package. Like our 1,600 square foot home, it's a single story home. A normal home out in the suburbs would use about 2,000 kilowatts to run it. Our house, once we do the conserving elements like the foam and other things we were talking about, tankless hot water heaters, all this, we're using about 800.
Oh, my.
Okay, and then if we make 700, 800, 900 kilowatts on the roof, we're flirting with that zero. So that's how it's done.
Well, Chris, to kind of answer your question, one of the things that's out there that's becoming more and more popular every day is the HERS scores. And this is something that he touched on earlier. This is miles per gallon for your house. It's a way to weed through, as he said, the greenwashing that so many builders these days that are not truly green and are not truly energy efficient, they say they are. The best way to tell is ask them what their HERS score is. The home energy rating system is miles per gallon. It tells you how energy efficient that home, gives you a finite number of a ranking. And as he said, a typical Energy Star home is about an 85. The lower the score, the better. Environments for Living Platinum, our homes range in the 62 range. We don't create our own energy, as the Solaris homes do, trying to be cost-effective and cost competitive in the production builder market like we are.
Correct.
It's a little harder to do those kinds of things, but the HERS score is the way to tell the difference. That's the answer to the question.
That's the new ranking. That's really what people need to be looking at when they're out there looking at companies like yourselves.
It's pretty effective. If you go to the Resource Center, which I had mentioned earlier, they have a great explanation of what that is and what you're looking at as far as that goes.
Jim, I asked you, are you using recycled materials in your homes?
Some. You take like carpet nowadays is mostly made out of milk bottles, that type of thing. Wood, floors have a certain amount to it. The padding that goes underneath them, those aspects. The drywall now is a lot of recycled product, especially the paper part of it. These kind of things.
Now, tell everybody what the LEEDs. That's actually an acronym. What is that?
That is a composite certification. It's it's more a sustainable thing as well as it has components that are energy. Our homes are usually all fall in the silver to the gold rating. You can get certified. You get a couple of categories. You get a score. that's acceptable, that's certified.
So you have some accountability to somebody to be able to get that certification.
Oh,
Is that
exactly.
correct?
Then it's silver, most of our houses, and then some are just fall into gold. We're heavily weighted energy efficiency because that translates into dollars. There are mortgages now. The FHA and now Fannie Mae recognize that if you buy a house like a solar home, there are things like the EEM mortgage, which is energy efficient mortgage, where you can actually qualify for a bigger mortgage because the fact is you're not going to have that utility bill.
Interesting.
That's very interesting.
Well, we've got
Yeah.
Richard on hold. Richard, we appreciate you being patient. When we come back from break, we're going to jump on and take your call. So just hang with us for a second, and we'll get to your question right away. Obviously, folks, we've got some awesome experts on the show here with tons of knowledge. Give us a shout, 800-808-5548. Wow. 800-808-5548. We'll be right back after a message from our sponsors.
Let my feet do things that they should do.